fight, he promoted Julio Cesar Chavez, still one of the great fighters of all time, approaching his 100th bout as a professional, a terrific fighter. He promoted the fight. Julio Cesar Chavez got hurt in training. King then collected $350,000 from Lloyds of London insurance if the fight didn't take place. The problem is first of all, Julio Cesar Chavez had signed a blank contract. Julio Cesar Chavez had only received $80,000 in training expenses. The $350,000 charge to Lloyds, it is alleged, was a fraudulent charge. So now you have Lloyds of London complaining about King, King suggesting that it's all a bunch of confusion, complication, that the feds are out to get him. Is he going to beat this rap kid? It's a complicated case.
Well, you've gone from the trial of the century, O.J. Simpson, to probably the boring trial of the century, because any contracts case is basically a boring case.
He's got 9 counts of wire fraud and a lot of years in jail if convicted.
And they're trying him on his addition of the following words, and I always love this. Maintenance, non-returnable, training expenses. I even choke up when I say it.
Sure.
But I still think that it's going to be, it's 6-5 pick him whether he beats it or not, because Don is capable of, and he's got an attorney, a good attorney, Peter Fleming Jr. You notice he didn't get Vincent Fuller, who defended Mike Tyson.
Right.
I 6-5 pick him.
I agree with that.
It's that close.
I think Fleming is a spectacular lawyer.
I say King beats the rap. You can quote me. I won't shave my mustache or anything. Harold Bell, do you think the feds are just picking on Don King?
Well, you know, I'm in the company of 3 distinguishing individuals here. I got a lawyer who's also a talk show host. I got, of course, author of a book there. And we got, of course, my good friend Bert Sugar, who's an editor and a publisher. Is it safe to say that Don King is one of the most powerful individuals in professional sports today? Is it safe to say that Don King is also a creative genius? Don King, of course, what's the difference between Don King and an NFL owner, Don King and an NBA owner, Don King and a National Hockey League owner? What's the difference there?
I think one difference is that Don King makes his fighters sign blank contracts. I think that if Don Mattingly had to sign a blank contract, or if Michael Jordan had to sign a blank contract and the owner filled in the numbers later, it would be a scandal. Second, in these other sports, these great athletes don't have to take the owner's son as their manager. And Don King, as you know, has made fighter after fighter get rid of their own manager and take Don's stepson, Carl, to be their manager. Then Carl takes 50% of their earnings after they've signed blank contracts. That's not fair.
With all due respect, Jack,
I think that.
They've been doing that for years.
Go ahead, Harold.
I think that's
Jack,
exploitation.
with all due respect, they've been doing that for years in baseball and basketball, where owners have bring their sons into the business. Now, you will tell me that Don King should not bring his son and family into the business? It should be a family business.
It's not bringing them into the business. It's having his son represent the fighter in an adversarial negotiation. King has obliterated the distinction between promoter and manager. Promoter, and King is a great promoter, his job is to get the greatest profit for the promotion. The manager is supposed to get the greatest profit for the fighter. If the son is on a stipend from his father, he can't get the fighter the best deal.
Okay. Harold, stand by.
Okay.
Bert, stand by. Let me take a break. Chickeration. Here's the Julio Cesar Chavez, who speaks Spanish, testified today. The Spanish newspaper, the largest one in the country, El Diario, said he didn't sign any contract. That's what Julio testified, and shows him knocking out Don King, which remains to be seen. Stay tuned.
Stick together just because of the fact that they are black and that they should be able to deal with one another, but they must be able to be promoters of friendship, unanimity, and zeal, and constrict all negativism to its narrowest form. You must judge me from how far I come, not by what I have achieved, because these are 2 different starting blocks. Martin Luther King took us to the top, to the mountaintop and showed us the promised land. I want to take us to the bank. They have coupled me with negative associations, undesirable conditions, so if you don't like the negative association or the undesirable condition, then you're not supposed to like me. But it's evident that when I represent a guy, I fall on the sword for him, as the lawyer would say. You know what I mean? And so therefore, I'm demonstrating by action and deed that I'm the best, because I represent them with all my heart and soul, because there ain't no backup. I go for it like it's ain't no tomorrow. So I've demonstrated that I earn more money for athletes than any man in the history of mankind, and especially black athletes, guys of color. So what they're trying to do is to propagandize in order to compete with me, because they can't compete with me on meritocracy.
Chickeration. Harold Bell, is Don King a racist? Does he play the race card to get all these fighters?
I don't think Don King is a racist. That was asked to me earlier in the day. Don King, Bert Sugar and myself, we've been looking for a white hope for many years to make us millionaires, because we understand that what draws in boxing is a black and white in the ring. That's why Jerry Cooney has lasted for so long. I was just listening to Jack Newfield earlier. He was mentioning Muhammad Ali. I was in Cleveland when Muhammad Ali gave Don King his start. I was there in 1974. Of course, Muhammad Ali fought Chuck Webner. Gave his start. Muhammad Ali is probably one of the greatest athletes and also a great human being. Hank Aaron once said, a man is only limited by his lack of opportunities. Muhammad Ali saw a chance to give Don King an opportunity to be a promoter, and that's exactly what he did. Now, I know if Muhammad Ali asked Don King for anything today, Don King will be there for Muhammad Ali. If he stole that money, I don't know anything about it. I hope he didn't.
Bert.
I think Harold's partially right. I think Don came into the business and talked to black men's souls, and it was wonderful what he did and what he represented. But I think when the color turned to green, that's where he started to go wrong. Though I think for Harold, it's intriguing and I think edifying that for the first time in memory, a black man is charged with a white-collar crime. I think that's progress. But
He's basically charged with committing felonies by fax.
By fax, yeah, that's the wire, the fax, yeah.
You know, Bert, you and I, we have our differences. I have my differences with Don King. And Don has said some things and has taken some actions that I didn't like. But, you know, Don is the kind of guy that I know when I get in behind closed doors and we go one-on-one, I do all the talking and Don listens.
How the hell are you going to shut you up?
Unless I can put my hands on Don King, I'm in trouble. Now, Bert, at the last fight, at the Mike Tyson-McNeely fight, you felt Don King's wrath because when you went to get your press credentials, you found that your seats were somewhere up in the blood.
No, I was I was behind Bob Euchre by 7 rows.
Well, Bert.
So is that what you're saying, bad things about Don King?
No.
Hey, Geraldo.
Go ahead.
The next fight I went out to for the Julio Cesar Chavez fight, I had left Don a note that was very sarcastic. When I went out for the Cesar Chavez fight, you know where my seats were, Bert? Back up in that same nosebleed section where you had yours. That's right. So I understood exactly what he was
Harold, seriously, doesn't this guy break his word to fighters on an almost daily basis? And isn't it amazing, therefore, that they stay loyal to him?
Well, you know, Don has broken his word to me, but I don't take it personal because what I understand is that in order to get Don to keep his word, you must put your hands on him. He's about keeping his word if you just remind him. He can get kind of, you know, act kind of funny at times, but Don is a very big
Did he act
man.
funny with Lloyds of London, Harold?
I don't have any idea. I don't have any proof of that, Geraldo.
Okay, Harold Bell, thank you very much. Bert Sugar, thank you very much. Jack Newfield, good luck with your book, Only in America, The Life and Crimes of Don King. 100 Greatest Athletes of All Time. Oklahoma City next.